We all know the dangers and the power of charisma. We've seen charismatic leaders misleading, actually being destructive both to individuals and to many others. That sheer magnetic power, a certain charm, a certain hypnotic power that can seduce people to do who knows what, terrible things. Of course, charisma could also be used to do great things. Leaders who have inspired people to nobility, to self-sacrifice, to virtue, to generosity. But charisma itself, what is it? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? I mean, we know con artists, snake oil salesmen, and others who know how to sell anything. They've got that charisma, that glow, that aura, that just in a way engenders trust, even though they may be completely not trustworthy. We see it in relationships, in marriages, and many other areas. So I thought, based on also feedback coming from yourself and from many people, it'd be good to really dig deeper, drill deeper into what is the thing called charisma, charm, beauty. Now it's interesting, I don't know if you ever think about it, but we do live in a world that is not necessarily that duplicitous all the time, but it's definitely a duplicitous world. What I mean by that is duplicity is possible any given time, which seems somewhat strange when you think about it, because it would seem to be that what you see is what you get. And yet, we find that people, there's an expression, one thing in your heart and one thing what you say. Basically, you can smile to someone and stab them in the back. Crocodile tears. You look at young children, for instance, they don't have that issue. What you see is what you get. That's why children have to often be told by their parents or adults, don't say everything you see. Because children are just that way. What you see is what you get. Certain transparency, a lack of duplicity, a lack of duality. But as adults, we show different faces to different people. We wear different masks for different occasions. I'm not always suggesting that it's dangerous or destructive or openly deceptive. Sometimes that's how it is. People you're comfortable with, you open up more. With others, you're not going to reveal everything. Not everything that's they say, not everything in your gut should be on your sleeve. You don't wear your heart on your sleeve. They say in Yiddish, there's an expression, whatever's on his lung is on his tongue. In Yiddish, was is auf den Lung is auf den Zung. So of course we need to have discretion and so on. But that's not so much about duplicity, but more about privacy, about intimacy, certain things you speak about and certain things you don't. But we live in a world of constantly marketing, packaging. The sizzle is greater than the steak. I can go on with all the different cliches. The biggest cliche of all, don't judge a book by its cover. But everybody judges a book by its cover. It's actually $1 billion industry. Packaging. The package is sometimes more important than the product. Sometimes it's consistent with the product, sometimes it's not. The packaging is great, then when you get into the actual product, it's a piece of garbage. Useless, worthless. Party planning, design, fashion, cosmetics. These are industries upon industries about how to make things look. It's not what happened, it's what people perceived happened. It's the way cynics put it. It's the look and feel. Make people feel good. And in many ways, that is critical and important. So when it comes to charisma, which is like an intense element of feeling good, it also magnifies and amplifies both the benefits, but also the concerns, the fears of what it can do. So how do we understand this duplicity as well? And how do we get beyond it to really be able to, what we'll call, shine from within, shining outward? An interesting word in Hebrew, the word for face, when we say on the face of it, on the surface, we usually mean ostensibly. It seems that way. But when you go beneath the face or the surface, it may not be that way. So face is often a superficial or external, a surface, a package. In Hebrew, the word for face, panim, is also the word for inner, internal, panim. Pnimiyut. That which is within is also without. That which is without is also within. A seamlessness that the outer reflects the inner and the inner is expressed in the outer. Now that, of course, is a healthy lifestyle where you're not living duplicitously. It's not a dissonance between how you feel within and how you express yourself outward. How many of us as children were forced to smile when we weren't smiling at all? You have to smile for the picture. You have to smile for the public. Everyone has to feel and think that everything's going well. When inside you're crying, you're agonizing. All this contributes to the duplicity of life. And this especially applies when you're dealing with someone with a lot of power, whether it's charisma or intelligence or other ways. They can easily manipulate others more than the usual, and they could also inspire. So there's a fascinating verse I think we can review. It's a verse, one of the most famous verses we know. It's at the end of the book of Proverbs. And we actually say it, those that make Kiddush Friday night, in the Jewish service, the Jewish Sabbath. So before the Kiddush, before the blessing on the wine, there's a Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor. And it describes a woman of valor. And the end of the next to last verse in the book of Proverbs, it says the following: charm is deceptive, beauty is naught, for it is the God-fearing woman who is worthy of praise. Now, ostensibly, on the face of it, it seems like this is like negating charm, beauty, charisma, all those qualities that very often we consider to be extremely positive ones. But if you really read it properly, what the statement is saying is unbelievable. King Solomon wrote Book of Proverbs. What it's saying is this: on its own, charm and beauty are deceptive and naught, even false. But when you have the soul within it, which means that there's something that's being driven and it's reflecting and expressing something transcendent, that's what God-fearing means. Now, God-fearing is usually a word I can't, as you know, I don't like these translations. I don't like to translate fearing. It sounds like the fear of violence, or the fear of war, or the fear of crime. It really should be reverence. The reverence of the divine. The sanctity of transcendence. As I many times point out, the word God and God-fearing always evoke all kinds of negative images, always, for many of us. But think of it this way: it's the woman of nobility, of deep spiritual longing and transcendence that is worthy of praise. And when that's in place, then charm is not false, and beauty is not naught. It's not just vanity. They become infused with something transcendent. So really what it comes down to is not the charisma per se, or the other qualities that many of us may have that can influence people easily. Or people just have that smile, that's very seductive smile. A smile that makes you feel trusting. That person's worthy of being trusted. That we're really talking about here is not the very virtue, but essentially what the soul of it is. And it shouldn't be surprising. Isn't that the scientific approach? That don't look at things on the surface level, look what makes them tick. You can look at physical phenomenon and then discover that beneath it are molecules, and beneath that are atoms, and beneath that are subatomic particles. Within the human being, there's the external expression, but then you dig deeper. You get on the cellular level, DNA, genes, chromosomes, things that are actually invisible. The energy within something, the energy within matter, instead of just looking at matter. So the same, and even more so, should be applied to our own psychological personal lives and interactions. Don't just look at the body of it, look at the soul of it. The body of charisma, we pretty much know what that is. We've seen it, we've been influenced by it, we have maybe used it to influence others, but the soul of charisma is looking at the transcendent component, where you take your ego out of it, It's not about control. It's not about gaining something. It's not about selling something. It's about that sincere connection that you want to have with another person. So imagine a charismatic person that has that level of humility, modesty, what often I refer to in the Hebrew from the Hasidic terminology, bittul, which means a suspension of self in searching for something greater than yourself. So then combine that with charisma. What do you have then? Then you have a person who's using the gifts that they have, whether it's charisma or other gifts, for soulful purposes, not for selfish ones. This doesn't mean that we can't gain and use it for good causes that may also have personal benefit, but it's not the beginning and end of it. Like we speak about love. Love, the soul of love, is not just getting your needs met. It's not just another need. Soul of love is to give. And the same thing with charisma. Charisma is a gift we were given to give to others. And what does it mean to give to others? To help inspire someone, to help pull someone out of the rut, someone who's in the doldrums, someone who's going through some difficult times. And your charisma, your charm, your beauty, and everything that comes with that, whether it's physical, whether it's the way you speak, it's the way you carry yourself. Your body language is reflective of a deeper soul experience. And that's what really defines true positive influence. So it's not about your gain, it's not about subjective interests, it's not personal, it's not commercialized. Charisma is commercialized. You ever look at any, you don't have to even go to a fashion magazine. Go to any advertisement. Look, the allure of the certain images that are used. The charisma to get something to make you feel warm, comfortable. And then they want to sell you something. Is the product good or service good? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But when you are able to look at things from the inside out, we begin with the soul and then we go to the body. Who's driving your ship? Is the ship telling the captain where to go? Is the captain telling the ship where to go? Is the hammer telling your hand where to go, or your hand tells the hammer where to go? Charisma is an instrument. It's a tool, a very powerful one, as is other gifts that were given. And there has to be another voice, another sentiment, another, I will call it even mission, calling that defines how to use your charisma. Now, in a world where dog eats dog, survival of the fittest, of course you can imagine that most people, then when they see they have charisma, or someone else who has charisma is affecting them, we're going to use it for that same purpose, for survival of the fittest, survival of my life, whatever I can do to gain something. People with charisma can raise money, can convince people to buy things. They have a lot of power. But that's basically an aimless life. That means that you're living from the outside in. It's like when I point out, you say to someone, who are you? And they give you their business card. Who are you? I'm a charismatic person. I'm a charismatic man or a woman. And I can influence others. And I have the methods. And as you learn through trial and error, you become better at it, to the point that you can sell anything to anyone. Because it's not being driven by an internal mission. However, when it's driven by a mission, why am I here? I'm here to spiritualize the corner of my world. I'm here to bring kindness and love in a hostile world. I'm here to bring seamlessness into a duplicitous world. When you have that type of driving mission and everyone has to fill the blanks in some higher cause that's not about you and about your gain, then charisma is yet another powerful tool to achieve that. And it also keeps things in check. I just recently was talking to someone, a woman who was part of a community, and she really fell in love with the community. She fell in love with the leader of the community, most charismatic person. And unfortunately, he took advantage of her without going into all the details. He used her, convinced her that he's in love with her and all that, but essentially used her until he discarded her. It wasn't serving well. So it wasn't just, okay, we're back to square one. It created tremendous damage because she was vulnerable, trusting, used the charisma in a destructive, criminal way. So he has to deal with what he has to deal with. He wasn't the one speaking with me. So I'm speaking to this woman and trying to help her grow through it. Most importantly, to become independent. Don't be dependent on this leader. Don't be dependent on anyone, frankly. People are there, friends are there, support systems, leaders, to help you grow where you are. If they take away your own volition, your own free will, meaning they control you to the point Even though you may think it's with good intentions and they're leading me and they're directing me, no. A good mentor will help you help yourself. As soon as you feel too much dependence, too much of a crutch, there's a problem. And that would be even if the charismatic leader is someone that has good intentions in mind. Even that should not be used in a way that takes away people's independence. You want to teach people not what to think, how to think. Not what to feel, how to feel. But especially if the person has nefarious objectives, nefarious intentions, like in this case. So the first thing is to teach us how to become free from these charismatic, hypnotic, seductive forces in life. To learn to think for yourself. You're not just a product of someone else's sales pitch or telemarketing pitch. And I mean that in the broad sense. I don't just mean an actual sale. I mean anything that people are trying to convince us of. To find your own voice. Recognize, respect your voice. The courage to express your voice. And if you feel something's wrong, there's nothing wrong to ask, to consult with someone else. Get an objective opinion before you get in too deep. But the fact is we are emotionally vulnerable. We are emotionally needy, especially if we've grown up in homes and environments where we didn't get the validation and the nurturing that helped us build that self-confidence. So we become more clingy, we become more vulnerable to predators, charismatic predators at that. So it's about learning to discover and find your own self and know that yourself, you have tremendous charisma. There's a word for it in the Kabbalah and mysticism. It's called malchut. Malchut literally means kingship, king, queen. It's a sense of inner sovereignty and a sense of sensing the value that you have, the indispensable value that you have. Now, you may not think you have that charisma because some people just naturally have it. They have that look, they have that those mannerisms. But everybody has that glow and aura within them. Sometimes it was forced undercover. So it's also about finding your inner charisma. And when you find your soul, you find your charisma, because soul leads to charisma, not the other way around necessarily. Because soul is the beauty of who you truly are. It goes beyond your body. When you say, for example, beauty, even the very word beauty, what is beauty? Very hard to quantify. Is it a beautiful face? Is it the eyes, the nose, the mouth? Or is it some type of synergy of all the above? Something that's not so tangible, not so really definable, quantifiable. Because beauty is more than just physical. Beauty has a certain ethereal element to it. Just like beautiful music, a beautiful art, beautiful face, beauty. Beauty is ultimately you at your core. That indispensable you with your unique music to play, your unique song to sing. So frankly, the real elements of beauty and charisma, charm, and all that comes with that is really coming from within. It's the glow that when you have that, confidence is frankly the most sexiest and the most charming and the most charismatic thing you'll find. Because it comes from within. It's not an external. So it's about learning how to think and live your life from the inside out instead of the outside in. And when you do so, you can create that seamlessness of both charm, beauty, charisma, not being empty vanity, an empty, hollow, external force, but one that's brimming with, pulsating with energy from within. And it's not something that's just fleeting, that comes and goes. It's something that's permanent and lasting and only becomes more beautiful and more charismatic in time. So it's our birthright, yours and mine. It's time to claim it. And the first way to claim it is by getting rid of the illusions, killing the false gods of charm and charisma out there, destroying those idols and learning what it truly is from within, from the soul. Thank you so much. Simon Jacobson here, meaningfullife.com is our website. Please subscribe to this growing YouTube channel. And please share. What better way, what more charismatic thing to do than share messages that resonate in our deepest part of our souls. And I'd love to hear, as always, feedback, comments, suggestions, thoughts, ideas, critique, anything you'd like to share. Let us celebrate each other's internal, soulful charisma. Let us learn from it, and let us also know how to give. Because ultimately the wise one is the one that both teaches and the one that learns. And we're all there to help give and take, creating the synergy of the beautiful harmony that is more than the sum of the parts. Ultimate beauty, ultimate charm, and ultimate charisma. Thank you again, and be blessed and be well.